Today's session is going to be a very special one because today we are going to talk about something that lies at the very heart of our human experience, which is relationships. Okay. And we all have relationships, isn't it? We have relationships with our parents, our spouse, our children, friends, colleagues, siblings, and most importantly, relationship with ourselves. That's the reason today's session is very, very important for us to understand what these relationships actually mean to us. Okay. Now, although these relationships lie at the core, lie at the heart of human experience, yet these relationships are where some of our deepest wounds are formed. These relationships, let me repeat, these relationships are where some of our deepest wounds lie. Some of the deepest wounds get formed in relationships. And what many people do not realize is that the emotions that we carry in our personal relationships, that those emotions of guilt, anger, fear, anxiety, the feeling of not being heard, the feeling of not being understood, those are the emotions that not only stay in your relationship area, but also start impacting other areas of our life, like our career. So these emotions that you might be experiencing on the relationship front, the fear, the guilt, the anger, the hatred, they do not stay locked up in the relationship area alone. You will see eventually they start showing up everywhere and even sabotaging your career. So many of the people, if you are experiencing you are procrastinating things on the career front for a long, long time, then you need to relook whether there are some emotional blocks on your relationship side. Let me give you an example. Okay. I was once coaching a girl, a lady. She broke up with her boyfriend. And she came to me for coaching on the career front. She told me that her career is not moving. She is not applying for jobs and she's sitting at home. And that is eating her up, sitting at home, doing nothing, being highly qualified. So she is feeling a lot of turbulence. A lot of thoughts are coming to her in terms of, what a waste of all the education. Why did I get myself so many certifications when I'm not be able to utilize this? So she was feeling her life is absolute waste. And when I eventually asked her some questions, I realized she applied for one or two jobs, and after that she stopped applying for jobs. I said, why? What made you feel that if you do not apply for jobs, who is going to give you a job? Eventually, through coaching, through asking her several questions, we came down to the point where this particular aspect of relationship got disclosed, where I realized, where I understood that her emotional blocks actually lie on the relationship side. She had broken up with her boyfriend a couple of years ago, and he had moved on, but she had not moved on. So the relationship was still going on in her head. Although the other person has moved on, she has not moved on. And 95% of her time was consumed in thinking about this old relationship. How many of you can relate to this? So you went through some trauma on the relationship front, and that's consuming the entire day. The entire day you are just thinking about. You feel like a record that's playing in your head about all those experiences that you had with that person, the heated arguments you have with that person, the fights that you had with that person. You are replaying it in your head, and that's consuming 90% of your time. So when I told her this, that if 90% of the time, if you're thinking about this, where do you have the time to apply for jobs? So a person who is carrying so much of emotional baggage, you can understand what kind of actions that person will have. I said, obviously, I can guess it. When you wake up in the morning, you just don't feel like getting out of bed, isn't it? She said, yes, I don't feel like. You don't feel like doing anything. You feel that everything is meaningless. What is the use? Your brain has started telling you, what is the use of applying for jobs also, as it is nobody is going to hire me. She said, exactly, that's what my mind is saying. Who is going to hire you? Why? Because on the relationship front, somebody made you feel that you're not worthy. You're not worthy. And that feeling of unworthy is now percolating on the career front. How many of you can understand this? If you have some emotional blocks on the relationship front or any other area of your life, you will be carrying it forward to your career front. So if you're currently feeling stuck in your career, it is important for you to look back, retrospect, and understand what are those emotional baggages that you are carrying. Example number 2. There was once a guy who had come for my coaching. Now, he was working in a large MNC, had a good, stable job. Recently, he had lost his job. And he was immensely depressed because of that, because just 15 days ago, he lost his job. And when I further queried him as to what went wrong, and he was put in a PIP and then asked to leave, uh, I understood that entire scenario, then started asking him several questions, and I realized that he faced a huge setback on his health. So this guy, a 25-year-old chap, joined this large MNC, a very bright MBA. He joined, he started working, full of energy, active. 6 months into that job, he was performing well. Okay. 6 months into that job, he got the most devastating news of his life. He was detected with cancer. But the cancer was stage 1 cancer, and the doctors said that you will come out of it very fast. Don't worry about it. Doctors had given him 100% guarantee. It's not a big deal. But his mind did not give him that permission. And he started, there started a record in his mind where he started thinking, why is this happening to me? I'm so young. I'm just 25 years old. Why is this happening to me? Life is so unfair. And he started getting angry with life, with everyone around him, and with himself. He lost connection with himself. He felt that, what is the use of living this life? What is the use of doing all this hard work, earning money as it is? I have just a few days left. Although the doctors gave him an assurance, he had given up. Now, this health issue, which was playing in his mind, more in his mind than his body, started impacting his performance eventually. His performance deteriorated. He was not able to focus on his work. There were unexplained absences in the job. And eventually, he was put into a PIP and thrown out of the job. A very high-performing individual. So a turbulence in the health area created an emotional trauma that started impacting his career, and his career was completely thrown off track. That's the reason, guys, I say the 4 areas of our life: health, relationship, career, and money, they are interlinked. Any turbulence in one particular area starts automatically impacting in other area. That's the reason I tell all my students that if you have emotional blocks in any area, you should start healing those emotional blocks. Unless you start healing those emotional blocks, you will see that the same pattern coming back to you again and again in other areas of your life. They show up everywhere. So they might show up as you not getting enough job opportunities. You're not getting interview calls. If you're waiting for an interview call, you're not getting those interview calls. You might be wondering how others who have finished the similar course or similar certifications as mine, who have the same kind of qualifications, How are they getting job and why am I not being considered? So it's time to retrospect. It's time to introspect and understand, reflect and understand. If you are not getting enough opportunities, you're not getting interview calls, if you have turbulence in the office in terms of not getting that deserving promotion, you might be already in a stable job, but you're not getting that promotion that you very much deserve. You're not getting that increment that you deserve, or you might be surrounded by a team that is not supporting you, or maybe your boss who is too dominating or who's too micromanaging. If these challenges are coming into your life again and again, it is a pattern. It is a pattern which tells you more about the emotional healing that you have to go through. So many a times it's not about the skills that you do not have, the knowledge that you do not have. It's not about the skills, knowledge that you do not have. It's the emotional healing that is missing. So today we are going to shift that energy, guys. We are going to get deeper to understand how we can shift that energy. So in today's agenda, we will talk more about how not to blame in relationships and get ourselves to respond to situations rather than reacting to situations. Okay. That's number one, how not to blame. Number two is how to handle conflicts in a much more mature way with emotional maturity so that we are playing fair with the other person. And finally, we will also explore how to let go of some relationships that do not serve us anymore. Okay. So letting go, remember when I say let go of relationships, letting go does not mean disrespecting a relationship. It simply means that you are choosing your peace over pain. You can take this down. Choose peace over pain. Okay. Towards the end of the session, we'll go through a beautiful guided meditation that will sum up all of these things. The blame, the conflict, and the let go, everything put together. Okay. So let me go to point number one, how not to blame in relationships and how to respond rather than reacting to situations. Okay. Now, first point number one, whenever something goes wrong in a relationship, whenever someone has done something to you or said something to you, our mind first rushes to find who's the culprit. Okay. And most of the time, it's a finger pointing exercise that we do. That's how we do as human beings, right? So you will see yourself, your mind, you'll see in your mind, you repeat statements like, he never listens to me, he does not understand me, she makes me feel very small, she criticizes me. These people, the team, if you're having problems with your team, my team does not understand me. My boss is very micromanaging. He keeps pushing all the time. These are blame statements. So in our emotional intelligence world, we always say that in order for you to have emotional maturity, you should always come out of the blame zone. Okay? Because remember, blame keeps us stuck in that situation. Till the time you keep blaming people, blaming situations for what is happening in your life, you remain stuck in your life. Take this down. You can note this down, guys. Very important. Till the time you keep blaming people and situations for what is happening to you, you remain stuck in your life. Because blame comes from pain. And by blaming somebody, you're giving power to someone else who determines whether you will be happy or sad. Is that making sense, guys? Type yes in the chat box if I'm making sense to you. So as long as we are blaming, guys, we are not growing. So you will see if someone has said something hurtful to you, and you're playing this record in your mind, that incident must be 2 weeks ago or maybe even 2 months ago, but this record is still playing in your mind. That day he said this. How dare he says this to me? How dare he insults this to me? I'm going to teach him a good lesson. Like we always say, anger is a poison that you drink and you expect the other person to die, and you expect the other person to die. So get out of that blame zone, get out of that anger zone, because blame is not going to help you anything. Blame always keeps you in the past. Blame always keeps you in the past, and we don't want to be in the past, isn't it? We don't want to be in pain. Does anyone here wants to be in pain? Type yes in the chat box if you want to be. Type no if you do not want to be. So remember, blame comes from pain. Blame comes from unhealed emotions. That means the emotion of hurt that you hurt, disappointment, guilt that you experienced with him, you did not heal those emotions, and that's the reason you're carrying so much of emotional baggage with you. That guy who had, there's a very interesting short story, that if a snake bites you, if the snake bites you and escapes, you don't run behind the snake, you don't chase the snake, you try to heal yourself, you try to heal your wound. If you're chasing the snake, very soon you'll collapse and fall, because the snake actually doesn't care about you, isn't it? The snake that has bitten you does not care about you. He has done his job and he's gone. And you are here chasing the snake constantly without healing your wound. Eventually, you will collapse because the poison has spread in your body. Does that make sense, guys? Let me repeat this. If a snake has bitten you, you don't chase that snake. You don't chase that snake, you heal your wound, because that's what logic tells. Please heal your wound so that the poison doesn't spread. If you chase the snake does not care. It has done its job and gone away. So stop chasing snakes in your life. Stop chasing snakes. The snakes are the people and situations who might have hurt you or done something bad with you. Stop doing that. And what do we need to do? Instead of that, choose awareness. When I say choose awareness, whenever you feel like blaming somebody, whenever you feel angry or hatred towards somebody, ask yourself this question: what am I feeling right now? You might get a response back from yourself which says that you're feeling hurt, you're feeling disrespected, or you're feeling angry, feeling hate. It's important, as soon as you pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? It gives your mind some time to think, to process that emotion. That one shift, guys, shifts your mind focus from blame to ownership, because we own our emotions. Our emotions are something that run in our mind, right? It doesn't run on anybody else's mind. Right now, the emotions that I am going through is something that's playing in my mind, not in your mind. You have a different set of emotions. So when our emotions lie within us, lie inside our body, how can we give the control of our emotions to somebody else? Somebody else hurts you, somebody else does something to you, and you immediately become sad or angry, or you start yelling and shouting. That's not the right way. When you react in this particular way, you have already given the remote control of your emotion to somebody else. You have done that. That means you have given your power to somebody else. That person can just press a button and make you feel angry. Press a button and make you feel sad. Press a button and make you feel extremely disrespected and guilty. That's not the kind of life we would like to live, right? We would like to live a life where we have awareness of our emotions, where we can manage our emotions in a better way so that we can manage the various situations in our life. As I always say, guys, life will always give you challenges. Life will always give you challenges. Can we control those challenges? No. The challenges that life gives you, we do not have any control over it. So in your life, you will have several situations where which might be difficult for you to navigate. You cannot expect happy days every time. You can't do that. Some days will be happy, very, very happy. Some days will be not so happy, not so encouraging. But we cannot control those situations. We cannot control the people around us. We cannot change the people around us, but we can change the person that we are. We can evolve as a person. When you evolve as an emotionally strong person, nothing can move you. Even when someone comes and tells you something hurtful, you will stay untouched. You will stay unaffected, because what that other person is telling you does not have any impact on you anymore, because you are a much more emotionally strong person. That's what each one of you should aim to become, an emotionally strong person. Emotionally strong person does not mean that the person stays quiet all the time. This is again a myth. When I say an emotionally strong person, you might feel that, okay, anybody comes and says anything, you should just stay quiet. No, that's not right. But an emotionally strong or emotionally intelligent person always chooses to respond rather than react. So you respond coolly to the situation rather than reacting. What is reacting, guys? Reacting is somebody says something hurtful, you start shouting and yelling at that person or speak to that person in a similar tone, in a similar disrespectful tone. That is reaction. That is instant reaction, where you have not thought, you are not given it a thought. Hey, how can you talk to me like this? That's reaction. Response takes some time. That's the reason we say first pause for a couple of seconds so that your mind gets some time to develop a response that you can give to this person. So that's one thing. Part 2 of our discussion, how to handle conflicts intelligently. How to handle conflicts with emotional maturity. What is a conflict, guys? Type in the chat box. Anyone, you can unmute and tell me. What do you feel is a conflict? Okay.
Different opinions, ma'am. When
Okay.
when somebody have different opinions, conflicts can come.
Okay, good. Thank you. When someone has different opinions, two people having different opinions, conflicts can occur.
Okay.
We have written, Varada has written, who is important in the relationship. Sometimes we try to show our importance in relationships. Yeah. So conflicts can occur due to several reasons, right? People having difference of opinions, people bringing in ego in the relationships. Now, what if I tell you that all the conflicts in this world are created in our head? The conflicts first get created in our head. Yes, because all the stories that we built up get created in our head. All the stories. Just think about any situation in your life where you were in a conflict with anybody. It might be your parents, your spouse, or anything. And every other instance, you relate it with an old episode. Every other interaction with that person, you relate it with the previous episode. For example, one of the student had told me that she had a very good friend, very close friend, and they were working together. They were colleagues also. So since several years, they were very close friends and they knew each other. So one of the colleagues started started manipulating and started telling this person that, okay, your friend is actually backstabbing you. You know, all the work that you do, she goes and presents it to the manager as if she has done it, and she gets the credit, and she tells him that you are not doing good work. Now, in the second instance, she said, no, she will not do. She's my best friend. And she tried to defend her friend. But when this happened repeatedly, when this colleague of hers started poisoning her mind again and again in multiple instances, she eventually started believing, or maybe something is going on behind my back. How can this happen so frequently? Her mind started questioning, and her mind then started creating stories around it. You might relate it with any of the episode. Your mind starts linking one episode with the other. Okay, that day this so and so also happened. I think this is also linked. Okay, this has to be, there's something fishy in this. So this student told me that she confronted her friend and she spoke about it, and they had a argument, fight, conflict, and after that they did not look at each other's face for several months. Several months later, she got to know through another colleague that her friend had not done nothing like this, as it was, manipulated by the other colleague. So she was completely taken into a different track, made to believe that the entire backstabbing and everything was done by her friend, when her friend had nothing to do with it. But now it's all over. The very good, strong friendship that they had, it's completely broken, and she feels absolutely dejected, and she feels absolutely disappointed with herself, the way she judged her best friend from college days. She was into tears, that such a beautiful relationship I had with her, and I am the only person who was responsible for this. And she kept on blaming herself for whatever happened. You will see this whenever conflict happens. Majority of the conflict is created in our head, because our mind creates various scenarios, and we start linking up situations and making our mind starts showing us, yes, this person is the culprit. If he has said this, he also means so and so. So there's a beautiful saying that I heard from Tony Robbins, where he says that nothing has meaning except the meaning that you attach to it. How cool is that? Our mind attaches meaning to several things, and we start believing it. Several times, as time goes, we realize all of that was for just flux. Oh, why did I even think about it? How many times you might have seen this, that you might be applying for jobs or giving interviews, and your mind constantly tells you, what if you don't clear this interview? What if nobody hires you? It creates all kind of manipulative thoughts in your mind. And after a couple of interviews, you eventually clear an interview and get into a job. And when you think back, why was my mind telling me all these things? Things worked fine with me. Time to think. So emotional maturity isn't about how the other person behaves. It's about how you show up. Okay. So sometimes our mind can be defensive, can be manipulative, or it can be simply unfair. Okay. Emotional maturity makes you listen to the other person to understand. So I was once called up to resolve a conflict between two brothers. They were having a property dispute, and the dispute was going on from the past 2 years. They were not able to resolve that dispute, because every time they meet up with each other, they just keep arguing, and then they walk off. They don't want to look at each other's faces. and both of them walk away angrily. So when I walked into that room, these two brothers were busy arguing with each other. I sat there listening to them for some time, and all that they had to tell to each other was, you said this to me that day, you did this, these papers were not correct, the agreement was not correct. So each one blaming the other one for something or the other. They had long stories, one blaming the other and the other person saying, no, that's not correct, that's wrong, you are thinking about in a wrong way, and he brings about his own interpretation of that. I listened to them for some time, after which they stopped arguing. When they were all exhausted, they stopped arguing and they looked at me. And I said, okay, so if you guys have finished, can I speak now? I said, yes, go ahead. So I said, okay, you have two options. Option number one, either you both continue arguing, and at the end of the argument, I will tell you who is right and who is wrong. Okay, so we get to prove who is right and who is wrong. You will get a proof of that, and you can happily go back to your houses thinking that you have won the battle. That's option number one. Option number two, we work together, both of you sit together, work together to resolve the issue permanently. Which of these options do you think they must have chosen? I gave them two options. What do you want to do? Continue arguing? At the end of the argument, I'll tell you who is right and who is wrong. And you can walk away to your houses happily feeling that, oh, I am the right person. I got the award for being the right person. Or we work towards a resolution. What do you think? Which one did they select? Which option did they select? Type in the chat box, guys. Which option would you have selected? Yeah, option number two goes without saying. You resolve the issue permanently. Now, in order for anyone, be it you or be it them, in order for anyone to resolve an issue permanently, you should think about the future. You have to be in the present moment and work out a resolution that will give you an outcome that you want in the future. If you keep thinking about the past, you will never resolve it. So I said, if you have chosen option number two, then sit here. And what we are going to do in the next 30 minutes, we are not going to talk about the past. We are not going to talk about the situation that has brought you here. Okay? We're not going to talk about all the pain that you have inflicted on each other because of which you are in this situation. None of our discussion will be based on what happened yesterday, what happened 2 years ago. Our discussions will be forward-looking. Our discussions should be about the present and the future. So what is the outcome that you both are looking at? And they wrote down in a piece. So I gave them 15 minutes to write down in a piece of paper, what is the outcome that I want? They wrote it down, and I said, okay, now that you're clear about the outcome, how about writing down the steps in which you can achieve that outcome? Write down the steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3. How can we achieve that outcome? You won't believe it, in the next 45 minutes, they themselves came up with steps by which they could resolve the issue. And in the next 6 months, they followed the steps. Boom, the conflict was resolved. The steps that they themselves had outlined, there is resolved the complete conflict. So there is no conflict in this world that cannot be resolved, guys. There is no conflict in this world. The entire conflict lies in your head. If you remove those stories from your head, the stories that you keep telling yourself, if you remove that stories from your head, the conflict gets resolved. That's exactly what I did with them, right? I removed those past stories from their head. I said, till the time you're sitting here with me, I don't want to hear your stories. I don't care who is right and who is wrong. If you want me to help you resolve this issue, just follow what I'm telling you. And that's how the conflict was resolved. Is this making sense, guys? Type yes in the chat box, guys. The last part of our discussion today, how to let go of relationships. Now, this is a larger topic. It cannot be covered in just one session because it's a larger topic. Let go of relationships that do not serve you more anymore. Now, when we talk about relationships, like I started today's session by saying that relationships are very crucial in our life and we all need relationships. As human beings, we are social animals. So we would like to live close to our relationships, close to the people that we love. But why let go? Why let go? In our life, we will always have certain relationships which do not serve us anymore. And we would like to let go of those relationships. What happens is, many times we realize that these relationships, whatever relation it might be your relationship with your spouse, with your boyfriend, with your co-worker, your friend. Many times we realize these relationships do not serve us anymore. And it's only from your side you are having a lot of feeling towards that person, but from their side, there's not much love and support that you're getting. Even though we realize this, many of the times we cling on to those relationships. That's when pain starts. Yes, that's when pain starts. When we continue to cling on relationships which are already broken, that's when you start experiencing pain. And why do we hold on to relationships? You might be holding on to relationship due to some guilt. Maybe you have some fear. For example, you might be feeling, what if I hurt them? What if I tell them, for example, one of the students had this fear, if I tell my boyfriend I want to break up, it might hurt him because we had a relationship for 5 years. So it might hurt him. And she didn't knew how to break off with her boyfriend when she wanted to. What if I never find love again? That might be one other question. What if I never find love again? That's another fear. What if I regret later? That's a bigger fear. Your mind tells you, should you really let go of this relationship? What if you let go of this relationship and you regret later? That person will not come back to you. That person will not even see your face. Yes. So due to several reasons like this, we hold on to relationships that do not serve us anymore. So remember, guys, when we say letting go of a relationship, it's not done out of anger. That's one thing that you have to understand. It's not done out of anger. So when I say let go of certain relationships that do not serve us anymore, it's not that you go and yell and shout at that person and finish it off. No, that's not letting go. It is letting go is just an act of honoring yourself, an act of choosing peace over pain. So you are not abandoning them, you are not leaving them, you are just choosing your own mental peace, which you might not be having by staying in that relationship. So you're choosing peace over pain, remember that, and freedom over fear. So letting go, again, does not erase memories. So we cannot erase our memories just because we have let go of relationship, but we can accept those emotions and bless those emotions. Okay, there is a technique in which you can do that. You can accept, and after that, you don't, when we do the letting go technique in our coaching framework, then you don't feel anything, any emotion for that particular person. You are absolutely, you don't feel anything, nothing. That anger, hatred, whatever you had, whatever feeling that you had towards that particular person, that's completely erased. Now when you visualize that person's face, that anger and hatred does not come to you anymore. So how cool is that when that load of anger and hatred that you were carrying has been released? That person is still there in your memory. You don't lose your memory, right? But you don't feel that emotion, which means you have let go of that person from your life.